From the 1011 Now Alert Center,
This is the Night Beat.
sponsored by Pella Windows and Doors of Lincoln.
Good evening and thank you for joining me. I'm Jessica Blum with your headlines for Friday, January 30th. First, the woman accused of starving, neglecting, and torturing a child in court today. We learn more about her charges. We start with an update in a disturbing case involving a malnourished 12-year-old boy. The boy's guardian, Angela Lowe, is accused of torturing him for several months, and she appeared in court for the first time since her arrest yesterday.
The court does have concerns with the safety of the community, which was set bond at $750,000, 10%.
You heard it there. She was given a $750,000 bond. She is being charged with felony child abuse, first-degree assault, and first-degree false imprisonment. Lowe brought the boy to a hospital on January 12th. A nurse there contacted police reporting possible child neglect. The boy was then flown to an Omaha hospital where he was determined to be in septic shock with pneumonia. He was not expected to live past a few days, but he has. Lowe's next court date is set for March 4th. Now to a developing story. The Lincoln Police Department is now leading the charge in the investigation of a missing pregnant woman and her boyfriend. Authorities say Hannah Neville, who was 32 weeks pregnant, was on her way to Lincoln to see Roberto Tanner. A day after she was last seen, her vehicle was found engulfed in flames. We covered that. Here's the aftermath at 39th and Cornhusker on January 16th. LPD tells us the fire inspector deemed the cause of the fire unknown before it was towed away. And right now, we're working with LFR to get more information on the cause. The Nebraska State Patrol issued an endangered missing advisory for Neville yesterday. Anyone with information on the disappearance of Neville and Tanner are asked to call police at 402-441-6000. An update now on the investigation into a hit and run at an anti-ICE demonstration outside of Fremont High School. The driver involved has been located, but there's been no decision from the Dodge County attorney on whether to pursue charges. The attorney's office says it's reviewing all available evidence before making either an official statement or filing a charge. It is also working with law enforcement to determine, quote, how to best handle this matter. We will be bringing you updates on this case as the investigation continues. The Nebraska State Patrol is working to stop an alarming trend. NSP says there's been nearly a 1,000% increase in online child exploitation cases in Nebraska in the last 6 years. A disturbing trend, to be sure. TikTok, Snapchat, Instagram, Roblox. All those websites or apps may sound familiar to parents and kids. Well, the Nebraska State Patrol says that's where online child exploitation cases come from, and they are working to keep predators away. Captain Monty Lovelace says the biggest challenge in these types of cases is tracking the predator down. That's because they aren't always in Nebraska. In some cases, they can even be overseas. Just last year, NSP received more than 7,000 cyber tips, the most they say they've ever dealt with. Captain Lovelace says there is a unit within NSP that is dedicated to crimes against children, and it is using social media to its advantage in catching predators in undercover operations.
We do have officers that are out there looking for those individuals that are trying to entice children, that are sharing child pornography, and really just trying to hurt people in a number of ways.
NSP says a red flag to watch for, your kid going to a private spot to be on their device. Captain Lovelace encourages parents to have an open conversation with their kids about what platforms they are using and how they are using them. A Lincoln man has accepted a plea deal in a years-long child pornography case. 37-year-old Connor Seacrest was charged with possession of child sexual abuse materials after investigators were alerted about a file that was downloaded by Seacrest in July of 2024. As part of the plea deal yesterday, he pleaded guilty to attempted possession of child porn. He faces up to 3 years in prison and a $10,000 fine. Seacrest was arrested in July of 2025, where dozens of devices were taken from his home. Investigators later found 113 images and 22 videos of child sexual abuse material. His sentencing has been set for March 30th. And the man convicted of attempted child enticement after being caught in an undercover child enticement sting was sentenced today. 35-year-old Luke Woodrawal was sentenced 45 to 50 years in prison today. A plea deal dropped an additional charge. This isn't the only case Woodrawal is facing. In Hall County, he is also accused of 8 counts of child enticement and was allegedly discovered in another undercover sting by authorities there. Heading out to western Nebraska, where a high-speed chase involved a stolen car, ending with 2 people being arrested. This all started yesterday afternoon in Chase County after a deputy saw a car going east on Highway 6 west of Imperial. According to Chase County, the driver refused to stop when deputies tried to pull them over. Authorities were able to ultimately stop the car with spike strips after driving through fields, city streets, and yards. 25-year-old Brian Foster and Michelle Marie Fernandez were both arrested. That's when the car was also confirmed stolen. Foster is facing charges for having a stolen car, evading law enforcement, reckless driving, and for having drugs. Additional charges are expected as the investigation continues. Foster is also wanted in Colorado on multiple felony charges. Now to some health updates for 2 Nebraska basketball players. Fred Hoiberg says Rank Mast, who missed the game against Michigan due to illness, had to go to the ER from severe dehydration. And Braden Frager is still recovering from an ankle sprain suffered earlier this month. Both are questionable for Sunday's game against number 9 Illinois. Nebraska is preparing for the possibility of playing another ranked matchup without either of the two.
At Michigan, we didn't really know, right? Rink was a kind of a last-second thing, and Braden, we weren't sure until the day before. And so the same thing, like we're preparing to play with those guys, but we also know that we have lineups in practice where they're not in. So it's good to see them progress and keep working through things, but we know that both are a possibility. So.
The 5th-ranked Huskers host Illinois on Sunday at 3 p.m. You can watch that game on FS1. Finally tonight, and rounding out your night beat, is a check of the 7-day forecast. There are cold weather advisories in effect for portions of north central and northeast Nebraska. Southeast Nebraska and us here in Lincoln are not included in that, but we are anticipating wind chills overnight to dip around 10 to 15 below to start out Saturday morning, with actual air temperatures sitting around 5 or 6 below. Even high temperatures in the 20s tomorrow are going to feel like the single digits through the warmest portions of the afternoon before some late snow showers will be possible as we push into Saturday evening. And then a warm front will work to warm us so that whatever little snow accumulation we see through the first part of the weekend will work on already melting, I think, by Sunday when you're looking at high temperatures in the 40s. So recovering nicely will be more tolerable throughout next week. Seasonal temperatures into Tuesday and Wednesday before a high temperature, yes, in the 50s, and much more milder by next Thursday.
You've been listening to The Night Beat.
Sponsored by Pella Windows and Doors of Lincoln.
Watch, listen, and stream on the 1011 app on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts.